Hi there, friends, and welcome to a brand new
Dun,
Bum Square
dun.
Coast to Coast Podcast Network podcast.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's for now, it's called Nostalgia Sux Rocks.
It
So,
sucks rocks with an X.
yeah, Sux Rocks. So, what we want to do is kind of go back and take a look at things that we cherished when we were younger. And does it hold up to the test of time, or do you have to put on those rose tinted glasses
Yeah.
to still see the shine and luster that we attached to it when we were younger?
Right. What we thought was great at, between 12 and 18, is it still
Right.
great now? And how much of
Yeah,
it is
so
the nostalgia factor, or is it really just damn good stuff?
it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be an
Yeah.
interesting journey because just looking at the list of episodes, I got to look into Tom's head and see what he considers, I don't know, valuable from his youth and things that he thinks are going to hold up. We probably will not agree every single episode, obviously, but
Right,
it's interesting to take a look at that.
And it's not so much stuff that, at least my contribution to the list, it's not necessarily things that I think will hold up. It's stuff that I'm actually, I wonder if they do. Like this is, a show or an album that I held near and dear to my heart, or, that man is really, I remember walking out of the theater and just my life was changed, at, 14, 16 years old.
Right.
You look back on these bits of entertainment and at the time you walked away with, a wow, or that's changed me, or, it had an impact of some sort. 40 years later, does it still hold?
Right.
Are we going to have, God, what was I thinking? That's garbage.
Oh, yeah.
Or
And,
wow, that still holds.
Yeah, and there are plenty of those we can get into. Our age group, like early 50s, are now apparently like primary consumers. So our entire youth is being pushed through advertising. It's being redone as TV shows and movies, and everybody's covering the songs. So we're bombarded with our past. And to compound the fact that yes, we're consumers, we're also coming off the tail end of a pandemic, and everybody wanted to clutch that warm blanket of safety that your past gives you. Things are safe back then. Things were easy back then, at least as you perceived them. Why would I want to watch CNN when I can spend the entire afternoon watching Growing Pains or something like that, that feels comfortable to me, or Different Strokes or something like that. So
familiar, it's comfortable, it's
exactly,
it's warm, it's home.
Right. And it's also communal. You can talk to anybody in our age group and say like Silver Spoons, and they'll know exactly what you mean. And everybody saw every episode. So I'm kind of interested to see what you and I consider still quote unquote good. I personally, I consider myself to be somewhat above a heavy portion of the nostalgia. I think it's because I don't cherish the past the way a lot of people in our age group do. I guess I'm more cynical. I look at things and, okay, for example, like they just redid Red Dawn a few years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not going to put that on our list. We're not going to have to watch that movie again. So
I loved the original.
At the time I did too. But here's the thing. Like a lot of people in our age group, they're like, fuck yeah. Red Dawn. That's part of my past. They're remaking
Wolverines.
That. Yeah. So I saw it like, what a fucking cash grab. This movie was good, because the fact that the Russians could kind of sneak in at the time, that show was real. That was terrifying back then because it was the middle of the Cold War.
Yeah.
So there's that. And it was also the first PG-13 movie. It came out the same weekend as The Woman in Red. They were both rated PG-13. So there was this like, ooh, I wonder
Ooh.
why they got that rating kind of thing.
I thought Beastmaster was one of the first PG-13s.
I,
Because you saw Tanya Roberts' boobs.
you know what? It's bothering
And I
me
was
now
like,
that you say that.
because
Not
she
about the
comes out.
boobs. That was fucking
Oh,
amazing back then. Let's
right?
see.
It was a wonderful time to be alive.
Beastmaster. Wow, they made a TV series out of that in 1999 too. No, it was rated PG.
Good God. Was it? Oh.
Yeah, Woman in Red got the PG-13 because of that one flash of pubic hair, like in the little Marilyn Monroe vent scene that her
Yeah.
dress flies
Yeah.
up. And okay. But anyways, enough about pubic hair. So Tom and I built a spreadsheet of things that we felt nostalgia for. I threw in a random number generator, and we're going to see where we land every month. And this first one, we'll probably get sued into the Stone Age for this, but it's Taxi. Doesn't that just soothe your soul?
It did the first 4 episodes. And then I was just my God, this is a long song.
Yes, and back then there was no skipping, there was no fast forwarding. You sat through Angela, the theme from Taxi,
Yeah.
through its entirety every week.
Yeah.
So Tom put Taxi on the list. For those of you not familiar, it was an ABC sitcom that started in 1978, ran 4 years on ABC, got canceled, and then NBC picked it up for its 5th season in 1983. Well, Tom, just why did you put this on your list? Let's start.
When you and I were first sort of concocting the idea for this podcast, for some reason, Taxi was the first thing that popped into my head, and I'm not totally sure why. It's kind of an odd one because I remember watching the show. I have very vivid memories of watching Taxi and being trying to make that appointment to get to see the show. And I don't know why. I think part of it was a sitcom, but it wasn't necessarily for the family. We didn't have that precocious neighbor kid for comic relief. These were adults. They were working class adults just grinding through, trying to get by.
So it wasn't family oriented. It was workplace oriented.
Yeah,
okay.
It was definitely a workplace comedy, but it was unlike not like Newhart, where it was a
right.
They went to the workplace. There was work related.
Newhart was still in the home. You just happened to visit his work too. Now, is this something you watched as a family, or did you watch it by yourself, or do you remember?
I predominantly watched it by myself.
Okay, and same. Yeah. I do, like you said, I have vivid recollections of seeing this as preteen.
Mm-hmm.
Easily especially the last couple seasons. I would have been 12 or 13, and they had such over the top characters that those Reverend Jim stuck out, Laka stuck out.
And it's funny. I think those were the two that I would watch for.
Yes,
because as a tween, they were funny. They were silly.
Oh yeah,
and they were just totally outlandish. Whereas everybody else was crazy in their own way. But those two were the ones that were just completely out of this world.
Yep, absolutely.
And that kind of to a youth made them endearing.
Yes. And again, that was 100% the appeal to me when I was younger. I loved Jim. I loved Latka. To a certain extent, Louis also was sort of in that loud, disruptive.
Because he was just so abrasive, beyond
so over the top. Yeah. Everybody else, they had their lines like blah blah blah. Get to Jim. Mm-hmm. That's all I cared about. Move it to Mario's. Show that bar and just have Jim doing something crazy. That's all I wanted out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that aren't familiar with the show, just listen to this cast, okay? You had Judd Hirsch. You had Jeff Conway for a little bit. You had Mary Lou Henner, Tony Danza, Christopher Lloyd, Danny DeVito, Andy Kaufman, and then later in the show, you also had Carol Kane. That is fucking stellar.
It's gold.
That's a cast,
just
and an amazing cast. Yeah. It's so cool to watch, a younger Christopher Lloyd working too. He's just so captivating. You can't help but watch, even if he doesn't have a line. I'm focused on what's this crazy bastard going to do next?
Because he'd be in the background, and you're like, what the hell is he doing? Oh my god! He was totally in character. This is what Jim would be doing if he's not being talked at. He's over there watching something fly around that nobody else can see. He's just out there doing something. It's he's awesome. I don't know. For this show, the first 3 seasons, I had a hard time, because the idea was, we're going to just pick random shows throughout the seasons and jump around and see what was what. I had a real hard time, okay, wait, no, I got to stop and jump forward. Or I gotta go to the next season. Season 1, 2, and 3, I was next. Damn it.
Okay, well, that brings up a point So yes, part of the point of this podcast is we go in as early 50-year-olds and rewatch these things and listen to these albums and see if they hold up. So our idea was, especially for TV shows, since none of us want to do 144 hours of homework for a podcast that people listen to. We thought we'll just randomly pick episodes. So my question to you, I guess, is: have you watched Taxi between now, as we research this show, and when it was on in the early 80s?
Yeah, I don't think so. Beyond, yeah, because it was still in syndication in the 80s. I remember when it got canceled in 82 and then went into syndication. I think it ended up in that 4 o'clock after school block at one point in time on something. They ran out of Gilligan's Island and they put Taxi in. So I may have caught a few episodes then, but that was still the 80s.
Right.
But yeah, for the most part, no, I don't think I've seen an episode of Taxi since the 80s.
Okay, so you had a 40-year break between watching them, and you're saying you're just completely hooked all over again watching it?
Dude, I got to tell you, I enjoyed it more now than I did then.
Yeah. Okay.
I think because you're older, I picked up on a lot more of the humor, just schlepping, just trying to work, get the job done,
right? Make
the ends meet, just get through the day, putting up with assholes, just the grind of just adult being an adult resonated a lot more with me now, obviously, than it did when I was 12.
Right.
But that workplace humor, that grind humor was so well done. And I think honestly, it was just brilliantly written. A lot of the jokes, it still holds up. I think it totally holds up. It's still funny. I watched the majority of this by myself again and had several laugh out loud moments.
Same.
And just, it was great. Again, that was really the first 3 seasons. It was just on fire. It's season 4 and 5. It got a little heavy.
Right. It did. Yeah. There was more, I guess, depth to the topics that they were covering. And plus, at some point, you really get the feeling that Andy Kaufman was just sick of being constrained by a sitcom,
Yeah.
And just
I was reading. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say at some point it felt like he was checked out. It didn't have that same energy that the first couple seasons had, like you said.
Right. And Kaufman was a whole different breed of crazy to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then I mean, as from the '70s into the '80s, he just went all in on
Right.
the lunacy that was being Andy Kaufman. So yeah, and I think that impacted his performance and his desire and his motivation to be on a sitcom.
Right. And I'll agree with you. When I started watching this, and again, I don't think I've seen it between when I watched it as a kid and now. Maybe an episode on TBS here and there, but I was drawn in. At first, I was sort of turned off by the cadence of it. It sounds like every other sitcom from that period. That call and response type of comedy, that da 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 da, and
Yeah.
the canned laughter and all of that just sort of grated on me. But then after a few minutes, just the quality of their writing, the
Yeah.
the level of acting that you had in that, and just you got a real feel for the camaraderie of the cast too. So yes, going in, I was turned off just by the format, but
Mhm.
those ingredients just completely overcame those limitations, and it was endearing to me all over again. And like you said, for different reasons, I didn't need the craziness. I was
Mhm.
more interested now in the stories. And what was fun is, at least in the episodes that I randomly picked, these people never won. It seemed like
No.
half the
No.
plots were about, oh, here's a golden opportunity for you to fix some facet of your life, and it just falls
Yep.
apart.
Yeah. And they're back
It's
at the
fantastic.
garage,
Yes.
head that hanging low. Just all right.
Yep.
And then
Everybody works hard. Nobody wins.
yep. I mean, yeah, you look at it, it's really just sad, but
Yeah.
they showed up every day, and that's what you do.
Oh, yeah.
And as humans as humans should do, you find the humor wherever it is, no matter how
Right.
encrusted in crap, it may be. You find there's always something to
Right.
laugh at. There's always
Yep.
something
And
that
I love the
keeps you
fact
coming
that
back.
Alex Rieger, Judd Hirsch's character, was the only one that seemed to be an actual cab driver. Everybody else was
Yeah,
doing it until their break. Like
exactly.
Tony Danza wasn't a cab driver. He was just doing this until his boxing career took off. Or Jeff Conway was not a cab driver. He's just doing this until his acting career takes off. Everybody's
Yep.
just there to pull a paycheck until their big break.
Yeah.
But he was done. I'm a cab driver. That's
I'm a
all
cab
I am.
Yep. Because I think they went into that when episode 1, when Mary Lou Henner shows up.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah,
they're
definitely.
They're making the introductions, and yeah, Tony's like, yeah, I'm doing this till I make my break in boxing, and Bobby, yeah, until I make an actor, and Alex is like, yeah, I'm a cab driver. I do this
Right.
until I'm done.
So, I did, and I'm going to use the word research lightly. Basically, I just looked up on IMDb and Wikipedia just to refresh myself with the information. But so for a show that ran for 5 years, right? 31 Emmy nominations, 18 wins. They had 25 Golden Globe nominations, 4 wins, and it's been in syndication since the end of the show. So this entire time, somebody's been carrying it that entire time. And with that limited of run, they were nominated. That's 56 nominations in 5 years. It's amazing. And that just says a ton about the cast, the writing, all of it. Just, it was an incredible show at the time.
Yeah.
I don't think it broke any new ground by any means. It was solid. It was good at what it was supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't. Yeah, it didn't break anything. There wasn't the first interracial kiss. There wasn't the first gay character. There was none of that. It just was a solid ensemble sitcom,
right? And if you think about it,
what,
like outside of the Mario's scenes, that it was basically a stage. Though the
Yeah.
cameras didn't move all that much, it was focused on Louis in the cage, a table, and a payphone, and that's it.
Yeah.
Every once in
Yeah.
a while they'd pop into somebody's apartment every few episodes, but other than that, it was just that workplace, the interaction of
Yeah.
all of these people that are basically down on their luck, and it was solid. So I was
And
sort
it
of
did.
excited when you picked this because, again, uh, I personally I don't think it had a lasting effect on me, but the second I saw it on that spreadsheet, I'm like, oh God, yeah, I remember specifically watching that show and
Yeah.
laughing. And
And that's something, like
my
I said before, go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
It's like I said, I didn't, it didn't have a lasting impact or anything on me, but it was just one of those shows that was there. It,
Right.
it was just part of the fabric. And it's like, well, yeah, you can't talk about that time in my life as far as entertainment goes and not have Taxi.
Okay.
You know,
Were you a regular watcher? Was it something that you caught when you could catch it, or did you make the commitment to sit down every week and watch that?
uh, kind of a little bit of both. I think that it just was on at a time when dinner was over and mom was doing something, and that was what was on
Right. Okay.
initially. And then I think as time went on, it was like, oh, shoot, yeah, it's Thursday. Taxi's on.
Right.
Um, yeah. And then it was on before
Huh.
Cheers, too, I think. So it was
Uh, oh, okay. And that was on
once
your list
Cheers.
too.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. One
Something
interesting
matter.
thing that I'm kind of, I called up Wikipedia. Um, the showrunner and the writers for seasons 1, 2, and 3 left season 4 to go create Cheers.
Oh, okay. Well, that
So,
could also be the disconnect that you noticed.
yeah,
That
that
jump
was
from season
the
3 to season 4.
an abrupt change, and I lost their names. The Charles brothers, and the other guy,
Yeah, it was
Jim
part.
Burrows. Sorry.
No. I loved 50 something me watching Carol Kane and Andy Kaufman
Oh,
interact. It
yeah,
was genius, just so
and
good. And you just watching them, you could tell at least half of that was completely improv too. It's just
yeah,
them feeding off of each other's weirdness.
yep, yeah, and that solidified Carol Kane. Like after after seeing her as Simca, like I would seek out things that she was in. Like if I heard that Carol Kane was going to be on something or in something, I'd be like, all right, yeah, I'm watching that. Because
Yep.
Carol Kane it was just a brilliant, just brilliant.
Oh yeah,
Just so
absolutely.
strange and
Yep.
hilarious. Um, my big takeaway from this, as far as the performers, was Danny DeVito. I had forgotten how just wonderful he is, and
Yes.
that seeing him as Louis, you see like the foundation for so many other characters that
All right.
he made great. And the same thing with Christopher Lloyd. I mean, I'm seeing Doc Brown, and I'm seeing uh, oh shit, the Klingon he played in Wrath of Khan. Like I'm seeing all these other characters that was Christopher Lloyd, and it's like,
Right.
man, it was just cool to see. It's like this is like the beginning of a lot of these guys. Obviously, Hirsch had some notoriety prior to
Right.
this, but for the most part, Conway had done Grease. This is the first acting gig for Tony Danza. They just actually discovered him at a gym
Oh,
boxing.
really?
Yeah, he was an actual boxer. And they went there looking, to cast an Irish guy to be the
Wow.
boxer, and ended up seeing Tony Danza and talking to him. And they're like, okay, rewrite. And
Right.
they wanted him.
So,
Um,
and one of the things that I read, I think it was on IMDb at some point about Conway leaving, was
yeah,
that he wasn't there, and so they rewrote his lines and spread it out amongst the cast, and
right.
realized that they got better laughs doing his lines, so they just kind of eliminated the character.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
guess to if you have to lose Jeff Conway to get Carol Kane, by God, yes,
Oh
that's
yeah.
a solid purchase right there.
That's an easy trade right there. Hell yeah. Um, the other thing I wanted to mention, Rhea Perlman,
Yes,
who
yes,
who played Louis' girlfriend.
yep,
They were actually married already. Danny
right,
DeVito
yeah,
and Rhea Perlman were married. Um, and what else? The little old lady that came in to play Louis' mother was actually his mother. Was actually Danny DeVito's mom, who had
no
never
way.
acted before or anything, but like, oh, she's just perfect. We need to have her
That's
in as to play
hilarious.
the mom. Yeah. Um, yeah. And then funny enough, Rhea Perlman goes with the Burroughs and the
Right.
Charleses to go to Cheers afterwards.
So cheers, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, one funny thing that I read that it seemed completely Tony Danza in reading it was that he's actually driving the cab in the opening credits.
Yeah. I remember I read that too.
And so I'm
Yeah.
flipping through all these facts. I'm like, yeah, I can see that.
Right?
Some directors like shit. We need some footage of a car going over a bridge. Hey, grab that guy over there. Tell him to get in the car.
Yeah. Do you have any scenes today? All right, get in the car.
You're right.
We're going to 59th Street. um, the other thing I read, because in the same, probably the same little snippet from IMDb, was that loop of the car driving on the 59th Street bridge. Like, it never changes. Like the cab never actually
Right.
goes anywhere. It's just
Any
stuck
further.
in this loop. And the writer of the blurb was like a metaphor for the cab drivers in the show. They're just stuck.
Yes.
The skyline never changes. I'm like, that's pretty amazing.
Okay, so first pick right out of the gate, this was solid. So, um, just for your take, looking at it as a 50-something-year-old looking at this 40-something-year-old TV show, does it hold up, or do you need your rose-tinted glasses?
I think it holds up. In fact, personally, I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch it again, like at my leisure, without it being an assignment, and just
Right.
it's there. It's in my queue, and I'll drop in on the guys at the Sunshine Cab Company on the regular from here on out.
Right. I'm going to have to agree with you. And again, I remember kind of watching this as a kid, not on the regular. We'd pick it up here and there whenever we could, but it was always good for a laugh. But now looking at it as an adult, this is prime sitcom.
Yeah,
If this came out today, it would be a success.
I think
It's
it would
well
totally work.
written, it's well directed, it's well acted. It's an absolute solid show. I don't
Yeah,
need the film of nostalgia to make me appreciate this. It's fascinating as it is.
yeah, and at the very least, because it is so very late '70s, early '80s. Look at it, like a period piece. Like
Right.
this is our Bridgerton. This is Downton Abbey, circa 1979.
Right?
It's a snapshot of that time, and so yeah, there is a hint of nostalgia, obviously, but overall, as a body of work, this totally stands up.
Absolutely.
Update some of the references, and I think this would totally fly in 2022.
Sure. I will admit when when I first tracked it down to start doing our homework for this episode, the second that theme music kicked in,
Right?
like all of it came flooding back. I'm like, oh my God, yes. Now I
Yeah.
remember. That
Yep.
flute triggered everything.
Totally. Like, I'm remembering lines and I'm remembering episodes, and like
Yep.
it's the opening
Yes.
credits of episode 1 that when I'm sitting down and watching it, I'm like, oh my God, yeah. And it's like
Right?
all of a sudden all the memories of 5 seasons starts to creep back in. And then you pick on the episode, it's like, oh, it's this one. And you
Right.
remember it, Like, wow.
Yeah, so good pick. Again, chances are really, really good. Not every episode we're going to come away with a winner, but this is
Sure.
a solid pick. Again, I even lacking that emotional attachment to it, that I still loved it. It was fun to go back
Yeah.
and watch all of these masters of their craft doing what they're so good at.
Yeah. And as again, as early practitioners too, it's like, wow.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing, man. How young everybody looked. Like seeing that first scene where Danny DeVito comes out of the cage in that first episode. Like, oh my God, could he even like move that fast down those stairs now?
Not without being pushed.
Neat. Yeah. And Christopher Lloyd, holy shit. He was like way younger than us now back in that show.
Oh yeah.
And just it's so cool to see him like that. And again, my crush for Mary Lou Henner just completely revitalized when she walked out onto the stage. I'm like, oh, there it is. Yeah,
that's hello you.
Right. Oh, I remember you, lady. So yeah, excellent choice, man. This was a fun look back at our youth, and again, I probably will too. I'll start watching this again to fill in the gap of all the garbage that's out now.
Yeah, right on. Do we want to do the random generator and tease the next episode, or
oh shit, yeah,
should we surprise them all?
No, I love this idea, and that holds our feet to the fire too.
Right. I do got to say, I wish I had started watching earlier, because I spent like this week like just binging.
Oh, really?
Like the 4th and 5th season, yeah, just to kind of get it all in. So I wanted to do, like there's like 24 episodes per season. I'm like, holy crap!
Oh yeah, I
forgot.
Like the final count was like 144 episodes, so that's like 72 hours of homework, dude.
Yeah.
All right. So I have the spreadsheet up, and I'm going to reapply the random number generator with the fancy F5 button. Doink. There we go. Here it comes. This is way duller than I thought it would be.
Yeah, we should probably have like music.
We sort. You caught me by surprise. We could have planned this better. Sort sheet by column.
And we're sorting. And where will it land? Nobody knows.
Right, yes. Excel
Please, no
on a
wagering.
Radio show.
Please, no wagering. This is for entertainment only.
9293. So it looks like Gremlins is going to be our May episode. May show.
Right on.
Gremlins. Yeah. Okay. So maybe our streak ends at 1.
I don't know. We may agree on this one as well. Either the agreement streak or the that's a winner streak. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I'll tease. I haven't seen that movie in at least 10 years. Probably closer to 20.
Probably about 15. I think we watched it with with Dill when he was a
Really?
kid.
Okay. So, and again,
I don't
I
remember.
will rewatch it for this show, but if I
Yeah,
remember, my takeaway when I saw it 15 years ago was, yes, that came out when I was young,
yeah,
and that was it. So we'll see.
yeah.
Who knows? Who knows?
I don't have. Yeah, I don't have strong memories of that either way. I remember it when it came out. We'll see how it goes.
Oh yeah, I was such a Gizmo junkie. I mean, I don't want to ruin everything for May, but yeah, this is one. This is like the anti-taxi. I was such a
Yeah,
Gremlins junkie when that came out,
really.
and we were what, like we were 14,
Yeah,
and it was scary animals. It was cute little furry mogwai. It had all those
yeah,
ingredients that just tap into that early teen. So I
yeah.
I fucking loved this movie when I was with 14-year-old me ate this shit up.
That's right. Okay, yeah. Plus, it had teenagers on their own and like save the world situations.
Very true. Very true. Yeah,
Totally.
I never thought of that too, but yeah. And when I was a kid, I completely glazed over the dead dad in the chimney part of it.
Oh God, yeah. God.
And again,
Okay, yeah.
not to steal
I
May's
need,
thunder,
I need
but
to save some of this for May.
yeah, but
It's
just
all starting to
Phoebe
creep back in.
Cates. Phoebe Cates.
Oh, that's right. She was in that.
Oh, she was in that.
Bum,
She was in
bum,
that
bum,
all the
bum,
time.
bum, 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 bum.
You know what? I'm adding to the spreadsheet.
Add it to the list.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Tab movie. Tab. Mike. Save. We are going to watch that shit too.
Word.
Yes. Okay. So until next month, I'll tell you what. Let's give these handful of people that are listening some homework too.
All
Message
right.
us, comment on the website, whatever. Tell us what you think we should go back and watch. Something from your youth
Ah,
that you thought was the absolute shit that you're
yeah.
wondering, does it hold up 40, 50, 60 years later?
Yes. Through the Arnold Eshelman lens.
The Arnold Eshelman lens. That's one pair of glasses I'd never want to wear.
Right?
It's like, would you like to be scared out of your mind while laughing hysterically? Try these on.
That sounds like a mission for Big Kitty Labs.
Get on that, Dan. All right. So until next time, I haven't workshopped any catchy end phrases, so I guess I'll just see everybody next month, and I'll talk to you
Yeah.
then, Tom.
Guys, take care. All right, man.
All right.
Later.
Yeah.